Okay, in this video I want to talk about a scene that I saw in South Park a while back. It's an older episode. I don't know which season. Probably about 10 seasons ago, something like that. It was an episode on Easter and Passover. And I'm not sure if you've seen this episode. I'll give a quick summary. Cartman invents some kind of Jewish monster on Easter that they're going to go and find and essentially hunt. Jubacabra or something. I believe that might be the name of the episode that I'm talking about as well. And obviously it offends Kyle, who is Jewish, doesn't believe it. Cartman really commits to the lie. He goes around spreading it. I think he has Butters pretend to be him or something. I don't remember the full synapse of the episode, but it doesn't matter. That's just the background of the episode, and that's what does matter. The scene I want to talk about is the end scene where Cartman kind of has this revelation or pseudo-revelation where he's going to accept Jews and the Jewish traditions or whatever and Jewish people in his community. And he essentially says that he's a Jew now to Kyle and happy Passover, and he believes and he understands. And Kyle just nods and says, I know. He says, I'm serious. I know. And what this means to me is Kyle knows that it's not true that Kyle's actually an acting Jew, but to me, it shows the failure of multiculturalism, and that's the closest as we're going to get. And maybe not failure, maybe a half success. It depends on how you look at it. If you look at it as an optimist or a pessimist, if you look at assimilation or a cultural mosaic and people living in different communities, stronger together, it depends how you look at it. I'm not saying no to having different groups, and I don't want it read that way. I don't want this to be taken as like a Trump get out of our country type thing. But what I'm trying to say is I'm bringing this into an Israeli settlement versus a Diaspora type of question. And Cartman being a racist, anti-Semitic Christian character, I don't even know Christian because that's a real stretch, because Christians are meant to be accepting of other people, so maybe pseudo or fake Christian, but grew up in kind of the culture that most people would have been at the time in a rural America, and probably still now to a great degree. So whether Cartman believed it or not is a question I want to address quickly. Is he seemed, and I know it's an animated show, but anyways, he seemed genuine about it, and maybe he was deluded to the point where he thought that was true. Maybe it was a pander. It was probably a subconscious olive branch of an acceptance at the time, but he's eventually going to drift off back to how he was before, and that's the struggle of dysphoria. And you kind of have to accept that people aren't going to understand you. And I see now more populations of different groups, not just Jewish, moving into rural areas, and they're going to have these experiences and the maybe not as silly and goofy as a South Park episode, but eventually it'll boil down to kind of this acceptance where it'll be kind of the liberal pandering. And I think that was highlighted in that moment and in that episode, where it was a transition from open racism to the liberal pseudo acceptance and pandering. And I think that was actually a really good critique of liberalism in general and the way we treat minority groups in the West. So I wanted to quickly post that, and I don't know if it'll get anybody agreeing, but have a good day. And as always, blah, blah, blah.